Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream today. Look at the top of your screen if you're watching it. Fast main track, firm turf course this afternoon. 13 races on the card, so a busy afternoon, morning and afternoon for both you and I and the fans here. You're going to have a lot of fun. We've got 3 pick 4s. Of course, we got a couple of pick 5s, the Rainbow 6, lots of action today.
Yeah, stakes races as well, just a lot going on. Hopefully we'll stay fast and firm. I know it's raining a little close, nearby to us right now, but so far dry here at Gulfstream Park.
Yeah, but it's dry rain. It's not going to bother us at all this afternoon. We got a lot to get to, so enough of the frivolity. We'll get right to your early pick 5.
Yeah, looking at the sequence, I just stick with my $36 play. I used 2 horses in here. I used the number 2, Lord Darnley, and then the current favorite right now, the number 6, Ethos for Kent Sweezy. Race 2, I spread in here. Didn't have a really strong opinion with these 2-year-olds on the dirt. I used the number 3, Midnight Alibi, as well as the number 6, Meccano, and the 8, Yes, I'm a Beast. Race 3, just too deep in there. I thought it was between the number 5, Capture the Genie, and the 7, Bohemian Rhapsody. Race 4 is my spread race once again. This is, again, 2-year-olds. That's been the common theme for my spread races. Here I'll use the number 3, Lily's Dancer. I do think is the one to beat, but I also used the number 5 years ago and the 7, Uncaptured Grace, a second-time starter. And then to wrap up the sequence, I just used 2 in there. I think it's a tough call. I think a lot of people will use Brody's Honor on top, but I think others will use the number 7, the Uncaptured Lady for Kathleen O'Connell.
Yeah, we're pretty much in agreement as we go through those races. We'll see how it plays out. Let's start with this first race. And you mentioned you used the 6, Ethos, who was mugged in, against better on the turf a couple of starts back, had a rough trip there, goes back to the grass, responded to the drop down, showed the improved speed against those 12.5 maidens going a mile on the dirt. It's a $550,000 son of Ghost Zappa, and I think it's part of the pace scenario this afternoon.
He should be part of the pace scenario. He's kind of shown early foot in 2 of his last 3 starts, and those have been since joining the barn of Kent Sweezy. Thought last time out he was just second best. It wasn't his preferred surface. And you mentioned 2 starts back, there was some trouble in that trip. It was against $25,000 maiden claimers on the turf, so he's getting kind of to the level he needs to be at on the grass today.
Well, you got the number 2, Lord Darnley, on top of your ticket, who's going back to the turf. You're going to be hearing a lot this afternoon because we've been dodging raindrops all through the month of June.
Yeah, we have, and he's another one. You mentioned the dirt race last time out. He was 3rd in that race behind Wolfhand, who I know you really liked in that spot and looked kind of like the one to beat. But other than that, his turf races, he's got a late turn of foot, I should say. You can see 3 starts back. He just missed by a neck, and he's been competitive at this level, so he seems to be going in the right direction.
Well, scratch the 13, 14, and 15. 16, let's go to race number 2 this afternoon. It's a 5 furlong, sprint for those 2-year-olds, as you mentioned, where tough to figure out these races. This is a 25 maiden test, and I went with the number 8 on top. Yes, I am a beast. I don't know if it's happening name for me or not, but we'll see if it is. Cutting back to 5/8 of a mile. Shook off some early trouble in that race. Steadied, finished 3rd against 5.5 furlong debut. Just going with some of this previous experience, I think this horse moves forward today.
Yeah, just a handful of runners in here with race day experience, 3 to be exact, and I know I used 2 of them in this spot, and so do you. I think when you look, Yes, I'm a Beast, it was a good performance. You mentioned had traffic in there and did make a late run to kind of round out the trifecta. Staying at the same level today and at a comparable distance makes a lot of sense.
Well, you did put the number 3 on top, and that's Midnight Alibi, who's the son of Midnight Storm, debuting for Tim Hum. Ideal spot for a first-time starter to succeed. I think if you get the right first-time starter, can certainly win in this spot.
I definitely think so, too, because, as much as you look at the couple of horses that have had races under their belt, nothing was really that exceptional. I think yesterday when we looked at some of the 2-year-old races, there were some horses with stronger performances first time out. So I took a stance here. I think we've talked about Tim Ham the last couple of days. Maybe not the same success that we would normally see with first-time starters just as of recent, but his numbers with 2-year-olds, 18%, and then firsters, 15%. They're pretty strong in the works. I like that there's some 5 furlong drills.
I think you got a stat on the number 6, Meccano, who's dropping to the 25 level today.
This is another one that had that start under the belt against Maiden Special Weight Company, and we'll take a look at a stat for the trainer, Gilberto Zerpa. This is just second-time starters in the last 3 years. 11 for 33, 33%, add a couple more, 42% in the money with a $2.13 ROI. And this horse really didn't show anything in the debut. You mentioned it was against tougher competition. Now we're going to try a change in surface, going to move from the turf to the dirt. And this horse has also been gelded, so a lot of changes.
Yeah, and he's 2 for 4, just 50%. A limited sampling with horses going from turf to dirt. He doesn't do it a lot. So just to add that to it, I think it's got a major player in there. Let's go to race 3. We're on the grass, 5 furlongs on the turf. Claim is fillies, 3-year-olds. Fillies and mares 4 and up. Non-winners of 2 in life. scratch the 1, 2, and number 6. And Bohemian Rhapsody, Capture the Genie, the two horses you use. Let's go back and look at their last race, and the last turf race. And you're going to see here, early on, you're going to see Capture the Genie just getting in that trouble, which is so hard to do in the number 2 horse. And it just has to steady back in the race. And I wanted to make sure that you just had one of those tough trips in the race and just see steady back, got to put the brakes on. So really didn't have a chance. Now, Bohemian Rhapsody, and here comes Capture the Genie. So you make your choice now. Did you think that horse was in enough trouble? And you see Bohemian Rhapsody on the front end and actually, runs in here and doesn't run badly in here, but just gets nailed on the wire by the, I think Beauty Queen gets her at the wire. So that was good. And you're going to see the other horse, Capture the Genie, check in third after all that early trouble. I think these are the logical two. I couldn't separate those two. Capture the Genie. I left this horse a little further down on the ticket and went with the old buddy Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, when you look at the two here, I think the big thing that kind of separates them is just their run style. They run very differently, and that replay really highlighted that Bohemian Rhapsody has that tactical early foot where Capture the Genie is going to be closing from the off the pace. I will say, I just think having the early speed is going to be beneficial, which is why I use Bohemian Rhapsody on top. But in the case that you Capture the Genie, going to get blinkers on today, so maybe she'll be more in touch with the field than we've seen in her last few.
Yeah, and Sharon Boland had a win yesterday. I think you picked that horse.
I did use that horse. It was a first-time starter, I believe.
Yeah, it was a first-time starter. La Dame or La Dame is stepping up to face winners to 10. Broke from a tough post 11. Used her speed. She defeated Maidens. The reason I wanted to touch on it, it's Saffie Joseph Jr. He's solid, winning consecutive races. Going to flip the page. Go to race number 4 this afternoon. This is a 6 furlong maiden special weight, state-bred fillies, 2-year-olds. I know you went 3 deep in here, but it just looks like the 3 Luli's Dance, who's stretching out to 3/4. Pair of third-place finishes, including the last one they ended the blinkers. I think this horse is sitting on a win.
I think so too. 8-5 on the morning line. You kind of look at the pedigree. I mention this every time this horse is around. I mean, the mare was a 5-time winner on the dirt, only one sibling to report, but both strong performances. I think last time out was just kind of in that chasing spot once again and wasn't ideal. I think if you like Lily's Dancer, you probably do look to the outside a little bit in here with the 7 Uncaptured Grace, who beat her last time out, but I just think the experience edge is huge with the number 3.
Yeah, I know she ran very well in that race and Captured Grace. I just wanted to mention the number 1 horse in here, Malibu Skies, a half-sister to $860,000 winner, Mr. Jordan, who is one of my favorite horses. Yeah, I couldn't miss this horse, just gray, light gray. A stakes winner as a 2-year-old, Mr. Jordan was. Debuts for Stephen Day. String of workouts showing. So you're talking about guesswork. These works are up on the farm in Ocala. I just like Mr. Jordan. I thought maybe this horse, being a horse that Sire that liked to win early, maybe this one runs well today at a price.
Little bias pulling on the heartstrings of an old favorite of yours. I mean, there's not really a lot to take away, like you mentioned, with these workouts not being at tracks we're familiar with, the times of them. I will say it's interesting to see a lot of 5 and even a 6 furlong drill in preparation for this. Never know, but 20-1, you always look for those long shots.
And the number 5 years ago is the horse you had in second, Sammy Camacho for Mr. Mike Maker.
I think I learned my lesson with Mike Maker and Donald Disney when they debuted a firster here just a couple weeks ago that won. I think that was Lady Emily, I think was the connections, and they were ready to get that one going. Kind of look at her workouts. They haven't been the flashiest, but I think when you look at this field, out of the horses that have raced, 2 stand out. The other ones you can kind of put to the side. So I was just intrigued by the connections for this one.
Well, let's go to race number 5. It's a mile on the turf. These are claiming fillies, 3-year-olds, or fillies and mares 4 and up who have not won 2 races in life. A nice field here. We got no scratches yet to tell you about. And there, Pete Aiello, our track announcer, will update you with all the scratches and changes you need a little later on when we're done with this show. And I think the race goes through the number 7, the Uncaptured Lady, who's dropping to the 20 level. She followed that real nice maiden score up at Tampa. She comes back, sets the pace, fades against 35 starter up no claimers. But here's the key. Kathleen O'Connell has just been doing great. And Sammy Camacho handling the drop down, which I think is the logical thing to do.
And Sammy has experience with this horse even at Tampa. You can see piloted for the first time back on April 25th, which resulted in that win that you mentioned, breaking the maiden at the $32,000 level. I mean, she has early foot. We know that. Sometimes when the form comes here from Tampa over to Gulfstream, you're not sure. Was in a pretty aggressive spot last time out and tired late. So they said, okay, let's drop. I think the drop's key. And for me, it was enough have to give her the nod over the 3 Brody's Honor.
You know, Brody's Honor stretching out to the mile after following her front-running 12-5 maiden victory with a set-the-pace third against this level going 7.5. She needs to stay out of a duel, I think, with the uncaptured lady to run her best in here. We got the same try. I don't know if you did, but I thought Starry Hope was shown the ability to run well from a stalking position. Might end up sitting the trip in this race.
I think she probably has the best situation kind of unfolding for her, mentioning the other runners having that early foot. If she can just sit just off of them like she has, especially 2 starts back, she made a move, but then they decided to rate her. She was able to break her maiden here going a mile and a 16th. And last time out, I still thought it was a good performance from her at this level. So I think she's sneaky in here and one to kind of watch based on the tote board.
Well, our 6th race today is our first of 2 stakes races on the card. It's 7 furlongs fillies, the 3-year-olds. It's the $60,000, and it's named for right where we are, the Hallandale Beach. And number 5 horse in here, certainly Shady Summer. It looks like a major player in here for Carlos David. I want to go back and revisit. We're going to pick this horse up at about the 316 pole when Shady Summer draws clear. You're going to see Shady Summer right there, just going on the front. Just thought it was a real professional performance and competitive speed. It's going to get Lasix today. You know, this was the one to beat. Competitive speed. I kept going back to this horse. We'll talk about this horse when the race ends. I just thought that this, Shady Summer and competitive speed were major players in this spot. And there you see Shady Summer, and here comes competitive speed, who's multiple grade 2 stakes place. This horse has got a touch of class. I got a little further down. I just wanted to go back and show you those 2 races. 2 horses, excuse me.
I think when you look at Shady Summer, this is one that I actually didn't give her much respect last time out. I was unsure because she was coming out of some performances where she was 4th on the dirt against stakes competition. They tried her on the turf. It was a good race. Just didn't know what to make out of her. I know her first 2 wins in her career were at Gulfstream Park West over that surface. So I didn't really use her, and then I saw that performance and said that was a pretty big performance from her. She was game to the end, so I gave her the nod in here. I had a feeling that you would go to the 7 in here, rest of the story, because I know you love this horse a lot in this spot, but to me, they were kind of the 2 to look at.
Yeah, rest of the story is turning back to 7 furlongs after recapturing that form she displays as 2-year-old. I really liked her as a 2-year-old. She defeated 12-5 state bred allowance optional claimers last time out. For Eddie Plesa Jr., Edgar Zayas going for 2 in a row. I think this horse might be back.
I think she's big, and also kind of looking at her performances, she has tactical early foot. I still don't think she needs the lead to win. 2 starts back, she was able to kind of sit and rally late, just missed by 3/4 of a length. But we look at her conditioner, Eddie Plesa Jr. We got a stat here that I want to show when I was doing my homework last night and digging up things for Formulator. Just looking at winners last out the past 2 years and the repeat sort of angle. 29% in terms of wins, 51% in the money, so $2.12 ROI. I mean, she's done a lot in her career so far. Look at her record here at Gulfstream Park. She's almost made $175,000 over the main track, so I think she's a logical player, and I don't think we'll get 5-1, but that wouldn't be bad.
It wouldn't be bad, but you did use the number 6 on your ticket. I didn't. Coach Jair's Joy, this one from the Saffie Joseph Jr. Saffie's got about the 47 horses entered today, it seems like.
I think he does. He might have equal number of wins here at the meet in terms of entries. I thought last time out, she took some respect in that race. We showed the replay. She was really nowhere to be seen in the replay. She only beat 1 runner, beaten by 13.5 lengths. But before that, I thought the race at Tampa going 7 furlongs was a really good performance from her. She's got to win at the distance. She was able to sit off the pace. So I think that was key for her, using her kind of in that 3rd spot. It just might be a trip sort of situation for her where she does get a good trip.
Yeah, just to touch on competitive speed, I know you saw the race. She, multiple grade 2. She was 2nd behind Shady Summer. She's just going to sit the trip today behind the speed. We're going to be interesting to see how the pace plays out this afternoon with all these races with the fast main track. So a great way to start our stakes action with that race is the Hallandale Beach, which you can go a couple of ways in there. Race number 7 is a 5.5 furlong sprint. These are maiden special weight 2-year-olds, and it just looks like the number 7 Cool Star is the son of Union Regs debuting for Saffie Joseph Jr. Solid work tab showing. Leading jock Edgar Zayas certainly adds to the appeal.
This is why I use this one on top. You see who I use in second is also Saffie Joseph Jr. I just saw Edgar climbing aboard. You mentioned the works. They've all been good. The most recent 47-1 breezing. Before that, 47-2 breezing out of the gate. We talked about this yesterday on the show with the firster that I believe if it hit maybe 4th, was 4th in the money. 13%, maybe not the same numbers that we see from Safi, but when they usually train well, that usually does kind of translate to race day. So I think this is one that you kind of had to use.
That's some interest in the horse you have in third, and that's Desert Ruler, who's stretching out to the 5.5 after vying for lead and fading to finish fourth behind that next out winner, Cajun's Magic, that day in his 5 furlong debut. Dan Peter, Christian Torres in the saddle this afternoon. This horse has a chance to run well off that debut performance.
That's what I saw exactly, Ron. I thought, fourth was okay, kind of tired a little bit, but it's the first race. You don't know what's going to happen. There's definitely the room for improvement second time out. And when you look at the horse to the outside, Cloud Play was behind this one, fifth, several lengths behind. I just thought out of that race, it wasn't a bad performance. And you already mentioned Cajun's Magic, a nice winner next time out.
Well, you got to love the name of the number 9 horse in here, Skippy Longstocking.
I do. It's a fun name for sure. This is a $37,000 purchase from the OBS sale. This is by Exaggerator out of a War Champ mare. And looking at the pedigree, it's good to me. I'm excited to see this one race. The workouts, again, kind of very similar to the other Safi horse that we talked about, Cool Star. And these connections, even when the jock climbs aboard, 32%, pretty strong.
Well, I mentioned Cajun's Magic that won the last time out in front, behind Desert Ruler, in front of Desert Ruler. That one trained by Mike Yates. So the number 2 horse in your Cupid's Dude is the son of Cupid. That's by Tappet. Debuting from Mike Yates, as I mentioned. He's got a good win average with his 2-year-old, 17%. He's got a positive return of investment of almost $3.50 with his first-time starters. Miguel Vasquez. This guy's sharp with first-time starting 2-year-olds. I just had to throw this one somewhere on the ticket.
He is. It's a little different at Cupid today. No Cajun Breezes, but 17% at the meet, 19% on the year. I mean, the barn's been doing very well, and with Miguel Vasquez, you mentioned, they're 24% here at Gulfstream Park. I mean, that's a very strong number.
So one of the horses you'll look at in race number 7. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to have the Rainbow 6. It starts in race number 8 today.
In the 2 path. Round first inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 on top. Last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today, 11:35 a.m. We have a fast-main track, firm turf course, and we got $350,000 jackpot guarantee in the Rainbow 6. We actually had a couple of singles yesterday. One was like 60-1, one was 70-1, but you got to be in it to take down that one unique ticket, so we'll see how it plays out. Here is my ticket for $43.20, and I did go too deep in here with Velvet Isle and Lyrical, and I just thought those were the logical 2 in there. I might have used Takes 2 to wiggle in there, but that would be a long shot. Race number 9. What are you laughing at?
That name always cracks me up.
Race number 9. I think the race goes through surprise factor, but I got Croy. I can't leave Croy off, and I got some interest in 7 channels. And, our stakes race is race number 12. And, I used 2 horses in there with Moonlight Strike and Real Talk, but boy, Safi's got 4 horses in that race. And the one that I'm afraid of is 12-Volt Man, the number 2 horse in that race. So we're going to see how it plays out. $350,000 jackpot guaranteed today. I used, as I mentioned, number 2, Velvet Isle on top. Stretching out to the 3/4 of a mile today. Stalked the pace. Finished, I thought, a game second against Similar, going 5.5 for Mr. Safi Joseph Jr. And you're getting J.C. Diaz Jr. in the irons.
You might look at that race on May 20th and say, pretty lackluster performance, but when you see the layoff, it was a very long layoff, first time in the barn, needed a race, and face some of these horses that she's going to face once again. But I loved the performance last time out. I know the record here at Gulfstream. I usually don't use horses that are 0 for 10 on the main track on top, but I just think now third off the layoff, really getting into form, and off that most recent performance, I think this is one you have to use.
Well, I like the equipment change on the number 5 Lyrical today, and this one's going to race with the blinkers off after setting the pace, weakening late to finish fourth at this level and distance. Gilberto Zerpa's got MSCL Jaramillo trying to throttle down her keen early interest. I think the blinkers off might be good for this horse.
I think so too. She just lacks that late finish. We've seen that in her last 3 starts. I mean, 3 starts back, she just got nipped by Infatuating, who was a next out winner. And even 2 starts back, she was part of that early pace scenario and just quit. So hopefully the equipment helps her. I still have some doubts about her, which is why I use underneath.
And, you know, it takes two to wiggle, the number 1 horse. I like this horse. Stretches out close to the finish third behind Velvet Isle. Last out, I think if they go fast up front, you're looking for a long shot, trained by Steve Boudou, you know, this daughter of Two-Step Salsa. Were you a fan of the Wiggles?
I was not. That wasn't my time period. That was, I think, after I was born, that became a popular thing, the Wiggles. But
Well,
no,
you couldn't be a fan before you were born.
no, but I think it was like a hype thing later on, you know,
right,
younger generations. But I think I will say about Takes Two to Wiggle, you probably will get a price on this one. Always kind of in the double digits. Big thing is kind of inconsistent form, but at least at the 62.50 level, pretty good performances.
Anybody else in here you want to talk about, the 7 horse?
I mean, I used the 7 underneath here. Grand Michelle just broke the maiden at first asking, but that was all the way back in April of 2020. Christian Torres was aboard, now getting Edgar Zayas, which I thought was interesting, riding for Victor Barboza Jr., 24% together. It's just a long layup. I think this is an interesting spot because broke the maiden for $25,000, now only in for $6,000, but clearly needed some time off and has had some bullet drills. I know this work wasn't a bullet, but on June 24th, 46-4 breezing.
Well, let's go to race number 9, a mile in the 16th on the turf. Allowance optional claim at 3 and up. Optional tag is $25,000. And surprise factor on top of my ticket, and rightly so, and on yours too. We're just going to go and pick this one up at the 8-pole home. It's sort of a window dressing performance. It was just so good. But what I liked about it, you can see this horse just cruises. It was so impressive. What I wanted to say was gave Edwin Gonzalez his 1,500th victory, and we want to wish him the best. He's on the sidelines now with, you know, he had a fall the other day, so we're wishing him well. And I just wanted to show that performance, number 1,500 for him.
This is a really nice 4-year-old colt by the Factor, and when you look at those last 2 wins, the key has been he's been able to shake clear from the field, get an easy lead, and has won by 3 lengths in both of them. Now going to face some other horses. You already alluded to the number 8, Croy, a pretty hard-knocking horse too, but Surprise Factor has been claimed all over the place. And Kelsey Danner and Victor Barboza had a little battle. Now joining the barn of Kent Sweezy, who's 14% off the claim. I think these are the 2 in this race.
Yeah, and Croy, like you said, a 7-time winner on the local turf, goes back to the grass today, responded. That was a claim after the claim by Jose Garofalo with the 2nd-place finish behind a really hard-knocking horse called Well Defined. That race was on a sealed, sloppy track, which is Well Defined's game, entered for main track only in there. I want to touch on, before we get to your 7, the number 4 horse who used a little further down, 7 Channels, stepping up to face these multiple winners today after returning from the layoff. This was a good race. This one beat the trio of next out winners. That was that $50,000 maiden test going a mile. Lisa Lewis, Christian Torres atop this. Just an interesting price play for me. Now, if you're a buyer figure aficionado, maybe you don't, you look at the buyer and you say, well, I don't think this horse can run well. I think this one could carve out a trip. A horse I had to use on my Rainbow Six ticket.
Calling me out for my buyer numbers there, Rod. I still use this horse for 4th because you don't really know what you're working with. Just broke the maiden. I thought the last couple of races really consistent. I mean, you could go all the way back to about a year ago, and it's hit the board every single time. First time off the layoff, had a strong performance, and it came down to trip. But you know the other 2 that we mentioned are going to be forwardly placed. 7 Channels may be able to rate a little bit more.
Yeah, it's several Channels. I think has a shot in there. But what about the number 7 horse, the La Hinch, another horse that we know a lot about, always seems to run well.
Runs well, 4-time winner here locally from 16 starts, and is actually 9 for 16 in the money. Kind of look at some of those races at Tampa, was facing that starter allowance 16 level, had a couple 3rd-place finishes. The big thing with La Hinch is going to be closing from off the pace. So hopefully there's a contested pace battle up front. But then you look at the connections, Bobby DeBona, he's doing quite well off the claim, 26% here.
Well, let's go to race number 10, a 6-furlong sprint. These are claimers 3 and up, or 3-year-olds or 4 and up, non-winners of 2 in life. We did have a scratch of the number 3 horse in here, Little Dude. And more importantly, this kicks off our final pick 4 of the afternoon. And I know you put a ticket to get it? $27.
$27. I go 3 deep in here. I use Berhanu on the rail as well as the number 2, JR or Junior Speed, however you want to say it, as well as the number 8, Foster Hope. Race 11, just 2 runners in here. I think it's going to be a nice race between the number 8, Apache Brave for Georgina Baxter, as well as the number 10, Frenchman Street. Now, race 12, I already heard you talk about the carry back and your Rainbow Six. You mentioned a lot of Saffy horses, but you didn't mention my top pick. I used 3 horses in here, but my top pick is the number 8, Lauda Speed. And then in race 13, I'll use 3 horses in here. My top pick being the number 4, Royal War for Kathleen O'Connell. Then I'll use 2 of the outside runners, the 11, Admiral Truffles, and the 12, Mulsanne Run. So $27.
And this 10th race, I think the race goes, as we say, through Berhanu, who was a sharp winner at this level and distance. That was 3 starts back. Drops went up, set a pressured pace, weakening against 25 condition claimers. Going a mile for Saffy Joseph Jr. He's solid. The horse is going from a route to a sprint. He's solid with everything except that one you say about 13%, which I agree with you with the 2-year-olds. This one, he's 25%. Looks like the one to beat.
Does look like the one to beat. Training very sharp in preparation for this race, 34-3. That's lightning quick. When I kind of went through the form originally, I kind of skipped over this horse. I said, why did I skip over this horse? And then I saw, kind of looked more. Just coming out of 25 and that, that starter optional claiming competition, very tough races. The cutback is also going to be key.
The number 8, Force to Hope, goes to the Ronaldo Richards barn after the claim would try and make it 2 in a row. Drew clear in handy fashion, really, to defeat those 6,250 claimers going 5.5 furlongs. Sammy Camacho in the saddle.
Both the races since that layoff, they've both been strong. Now switching barns once again. I think there's going to be a need for some improvement where we looked at the horse on the rail. There's a drop in class here, but everything as of recent has been really good for this one.
I didn't know what to do. You got the 7 a little further down. Current Hope was going to try and notch his 3rd victory after the sophomore duel throughout and held sway, defeated those pair of next out winners in a 2 lifetime claimer at the distance for Enrique Torres, Christian Torres. I like the current form. He's 3rd choice on the board, and I just think we basically have the winner and the obvious, not the winner, the one that should win, and the 8 horse.
Some confidence there.
Well, I meant, as far as handicapping goes, we'll see how it goes. Watch, a 20-1 shot will absolutely win this race now. So we'll see how that plays out. Race number 11, 5 furlongs on the turf. Claim is 3 and up, $12,500. One of these great races that we have here at Gulfstream Park. And you went with the number 8, Apache Brave, on top of your ticket. This one's going to try and make it 2 in a row.
Going to try to make it 2 in a row. He's also going to try to get his 2nd win and start number 26 here. It took him 25 starts here over the turf course to get his 1st win. I just like the trip that he got from Edwin Gonzalez. He was able to sit just off the pace. You saw 2 starts back. He was really forwardly placed. He went kind of quick in that race and then tired. So for me, I think he's got some confidence coming in here on the win. And even last year, he had 2 wins. They weren't here. They were in Maryland and in Delaware. But Georgina Baxter, turf sprinters, gotta like that.
Yeah, Marcos Meneses ride. Edgood's going to ride, stick with Frenchman Street, who's the other logical one here, who rallied from a stalking position to win at this level and distance last out. I think it's the same pace scenario that afforded him that victory last time out. Saffy has Edgard going for 2 in a row, so once again, Saffy Joseph Jr. But I agree with you 100% that you got to have Apache Brave on your ticket. What about the number 5 horse in here, Longblade, who's going to go up and show you this horse having the steady going up the backstretch last time out. This is the number 1 horse that day, a number 5 horse this afternoon. Now you're going to see, and the reason I want to show this, when you have to steady back like this in a 5 furlong turf sprint, basically your day is over. And I just going to switch from the 8th pole home, and I just thought this horse ran well to be 3rd after that. It's just one of those days. If you don't get those that trip and, clear sailing. So I thought this horse ran well, was closing nicely, just got, beat for 3rd on the inside by the 4 horse, but I thought it was a good performance, so I wanted to go back. You're looking for a horse that had a tough trip for Juan Arias. Maybe you go with a horse like the number 5 Longblade.
He's a horse that I've actually been following for quite some time. When he spent his summer last year at Monmouth Park, he did pretty well. He had a win going 5.5. He was claimed. He switched barns a couple times. And I think when you look at his races here at Gulfstream Park, he's been in a claiming crown race, draw a line through that over the main track. I think you look at 3 starts back, it was moved to the main track. So at this level, I think he's really competitive. And now he's just going to make his 2nd start since March.
Well, let's go to our co-feature event of the afternoon, 7 furlongs, 3-year-old. It is the $75,000 carry back. We do have 2 scratches of the 3 and the number 7 horse in here. And you have the number 8. We'll start with that one, a lot of speed right on top of your ticket.
Yeah, the 4th Saffy, right? I mean, kind of one of the last ones. I really like a lot of speed. I've been kind of following this horse. I always watch him getting saddled. I think he's a little feisty here and something to watch going postward here for race number 12. But 3-time winner locally. He's done a lot in his career so far. And the big thing for me is last time out, he was second in the Roar. Obviously, there was disappointment there. Collaborate was the big horse for Saffy there. Ended up finishing 3rd in that compact field. But 2 races back, he beat Real Talk, and he did it quite easily. Won by 3.5 at the 7 furlong distance, which is the distance of the carry back. So he's 2 for 2 at this distance. I find him intriguing and looking forward to him kind of stretching out a little bit today.
Well, speaking about Saffy, we'll now talk about the number 4, Moonlight Strike, who's stretching out the 7 furlongs after turning on the afterburners really last time out when Jerome cleared it to win the 6.5 furlong Raw Stakes. Won that race in really good fashion by 3 lengths. He's got Edgar Zayas, so if you that's his main rider here. So if you look at the 4 horses in the race, I mean, is that something that you take a look at and see how this horse runs today? And that is the number 4, Moonlight Strike. But I like going a couple of other different ways in here. What about Real Talk, who's going to depart from the rail for the 3rd consecutive race?
Yeah, he's got that rail draw, which is good for him because he typically shows that early foot. I mean, he wants to be forwardly placed. Last time out, he was going 3/4 of a mile on the main track, a nice buyer speed figure of an 81. Drew clear, beat Flamingo Hawk in that spot. I don't know with the 7 furlong distance, 2 starts back, he was just simply second best a lot of speed. I think the distance should be fine for him. And if you're going to go against Saffy, I guess you're going to use Carlos David.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how this plays out. Now, the number 2, 12-Volt Man, who I alluded to, is another from Saffy Joseph Jr., believe it or not. Going to cut back to the 7 furlongs. Kept its record unblemished. We're going to go back and show you the stretch run when 12-Volt Man cruises under the wire to stay undefeated. So I just thought, turns for home. And he was sort of like in the game there. You didn't think he was going to run this well, and then he just everything came together in the stretch. He just drew off and won it very, very impressively. Chantal Sutherland will be in the saddle. This horse has done nothing wrong yet. To win this 75,000, just cruising under the wire, basically.
It was a nice win for him. You mentioned he's undefeated, and the big thing is from that 6 furlong to the mile race, there was definitely improvement. He learned a lot, and he got better. Now, I was reading kind of an article where Saffy was talking about his cavalry charge here that he's sending out, and this is one that I believe he said with 12-Volt Man. He's not really sure what he necessarily beat last time out, and this is going to be more of a test for him. And Saffy's sending out some really talented runners here, so we'll see.
Yeah, maybe you just pick out the longest one of the 4 runners and bet on that one, because that's usually what happens when some of these races. We have 13 races today, so we have one more to look at. And this one is a mile on the turf. These are maiden claiming state-bred 3-year-olds, $25,000. Scratch the 2, catch the and the 3, excuse me. Got my long shot in here. It's the number 9, Unimpeached, and I'll tell you why. This one is stretching out to the mile after breaking from a tough post last time out. It was post 11. Dueling for the lead in that race and finishing second. That was going 7.5 furlongs. That was against those 12-5 maidens. So I was looking for a price in here with Liam McCannis has got Chantal handling. I'm looking for a little bit of a price in the final race. I thought this horse ran good from a tough post last time out.
I think you will get a price on this one. I just think when you look at his record, that's probably why you're going to get a price here, because that was his best race of his career. But before that, he hadn't hit the board. Now, Chantal piloted him for the first time, so maybe that was part of it. Seemed to be a good performance. And the big thing there, as you mentioned, was forwardly placed and handled it well, which before that, this one was trying to close from mid-pack, far back, and it seemed like that was the spot where he needs to be.
I'm going to get tested for class today, certainly, but I understand. The horse I would have had on top until I started searching for a long shot was the number 4, Royal War, who has been knocking on the door in consecutive turf outings at this level, breaking from a tough post, steadied at the 3/16 pole, went 6th. That was going 7.5. I think this horse with a clean trip is the one to beat.
Yeah, has that early foot, and last time out that was open 25, 2 back with state bred. Returning to state bred competition today might be a little bit of an advantage or an improvement. I mean, really, it's kind of funny. Finished second, beaten by 3 1/4, then went to that open level. Went off from going favored in that race to 13-1. So didn't perform very well last time out. But if you go back to 2 or 3 starts back, I think this one could certainly find himself in the winner's circle.
And the number 11, Admiral Truffles, is hoping to turn the tables today on Royal War. After stalking the pace and finishing third behind them last time out, Kathy Mungeon has Hector Bregos in the saddle.
Yeah, Hector has ridden this horse in all 3 of his career starts, the last 2 obviously being the best of the 2. I think the big thing that I wonder with him, he seems to be kind of flat-footed in the stretch, really doesn't make up ground. He's just been kind of hanging around in those fields. So he's going to have a little bit of a deeper field today in terms of the number of horses, and he's going to need more late.
Well, the number 12 horse, I backed off this horse originally because it was post 12, but he got 2 scratches to the inside now, so we'll be breaking for post 10. For who? Saffie Joseph Jr.
Yeah, we'll look at a stat here quickly for Saffie Joseph Jr., just looking at something a little bit different, I guess. I always feel like I pull up stats for him. Just looking at that drop from maiden special weight to maiden claiming ranks the last 3 years, 36% in terms of wins, 53% in the money with a $2.11 ROI. Now, I will admit, once you put a filter on here, including dirt to turf switch, this does drop down quite significantly. It's a move that he doesn't necessarily make a lot with these maiden horses. And when you look at him, he's got a good pedigree. It's a half sibling to stakes place Wild Mia, who won 4 times on the turf, amassed over $300,000 in purse earnings. Was favored in the debut, though, didn't show too much.
Well, we'll see how the horse runs. Saffie's going to have a very busy afternoon. That is the 13 races, and now we have, we're not done yet. We got a compact but very good lightning round in here. And what a race we're going to have on Sunday. We're going to see the return of Jesus' team. He makes his return Sunday in the Dania Beach, and there you see the field, and he is the 9-5 favorite in there. And what a campaign this horse has had.
I mean, we mentioned it. He's been second and third a lot, but he's had huge performances. He's made a lot of money on the racetrack, and to have Sammy Camacho in the irons tomorrow. He's just been fun to follow because they've traveled, they've taken those chances with him, and maybe he's not winning those races, but he certainly has shown that he deserves to be in those tough races.
Well, one of the horses he has to beat there is Noble Drama, who's one of my favorite horses. This horse loves to win. We're going to go back and just pick up his last victory in the stretch run. He just wins this race so impressively. He was coming off the bench, and he is the number 4 in there, Noble Drama, and he just ran exceptionally well. And speaking to the connections after with David Fawkes, just saying that, he thought he would need a race, and he was just so game in there.
Yeah, nervous a little bit on the photo, too. Was he sure he was going to get it done? But you mentioned the layoff was key, and to see him have that big performance, I think speaks well for him. I know he's a barn favorite. They love him, and how could you not? He's accomplished so much on the racetrack.
And what about Extravagant Kid? Boy, this horse has been just something. It's exceptional. We've seen this horse run here numerous times at Gulfstream Park. They sent him to Europe, and they actually won in Dubai, one of the first horses ever. So he'll be running. We're going to go back and show you. He's running today, I believe, in July Stakes at, where is it? At, I forget where he's running today.
Newmarket.
Newmarket. And here he is getting just beat by who else but Imprimis, who's one of the top sprinters in the world, turf sprinters in the world. Just got nailed at the wire. So an Extravagant Kid, he's going to face 18 in the Group 1 July Cup at Newmarket. So it might have gone off already for all I know because we got a little change in time, but maybe not.
I'm not sure. I don't follow it too much. I can't say I follow international racing too much. But when you see these sorts of horses, I know we always follow the Gulfstream Park horses where they go next. He's been a fun horse to watch because they took a chance on him, sending him over to Europe. He performed well, and they said, well, let's just keep him there and keep him training. So I've been following all that stuff on Twitter just to see how he's doing.
Yeah, and he ran well at the Royal Ascot, which is tough to do. He's sort of taken a book from, a couple other trainers that have gone there. Brendan Walsh, this is his stable star. It's been a lot of fun watching that horse. So that is how we see the 13-race card. The lightning round, fast main track, firm turf course. I think we got a couple of raindrops around us.
I heard it.
You heard it, but I don't think it's going to affect us too much. It's South Florida. Rain dries out in a couple of minutes. So that's it. We did it.
We did it. We got it all in.
Good luck.